We're going to get started in about 1 minute, so if everybody wants to find a seat, the front 2 rows are for speakers, just for easy access. We do have masks that are Indigenous People Day masks, so make sure everybody grabs one of those before you leave. Just make sure that we're practicing social distancing, being careful that we're not shaking hands and all of that stuff, because we want to make sure that we always do our part to keep our communities safe.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome here to our Indigenous Peoples Day in Fargo, North Dakota. We thank each and every one of you for being here and a part of here. And we're just going to celebrate today for all Indigenous people. And I'd like to introduce President Bashrani. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you for being here for this very exciting day. Many of us had a vision for this day happening, and having it in conjunction with Indigenous Peoples Day really, I think, is symbolic of the role that NDSU would like to have in the community, not just as a member of the community, but sharing in leadership of the community. So having representatives from the Fargo-Moorhead area here on campus really is an honor for us. And it's an exciting day for me too in terms of the groundbreaking of the Mother's Garden. This is a location that obviously has massive potentials. Its size, its scope, its co-location with some of the best horticultural research gardens in the nation. In fact, the Daylily Garden is one of the largest in the nation at a research university. Having it here in this location, the potentials to expand the garden and being complemented by gardens around it really are spectacular, and we'll be able to do things here on a permanent basis that were never possible before. That's really part of an overall agenda at NDSU, for NDSU to both in words and in actions become a model for welcome and inclusion of all peoples. This past year, a major pillar of our strategic plan was diversity, inclusion, and respect. We formed a President's Council, which will be one of only 2 councils at the university with presidential name attached to them. That's an important symbolic gesture, talking about priorities of the institution. It's the Council for Diversity, Inclusion, and Respect. We have also, I think we're near, if we're not at completion of Indigenous Lands Acknowledgement statement that is reflective and respectful both of Indigenous people, but also of the history of NDSU as a land-grant institution. That sounds easy to do, but can be very complicated if you want to do it accurately and respectfully, and the committee that's been working on that has taken that charge, and I believe are doing a phenomenal job. We also recently announced the New Beginnings for Tribal Students program. That's part of federal funding of the U.S. Agricultural Bill. A consortium of institutions pursued that funding. It was a competitive grant nationwide, and NDSU, as well as our sister land-grant institution, SDSU, were successful in securing funds to better support our tribal students. And we're holding a series of conversations throughout the year talking about diversity, inclusion, and respect. And our launch was with Alan Page, a Supreme Court Justice in Minnesota. It was an exciting launch of that series that is meant to catalyze dialogue and supportive conversations of diversity, inclusion, and respect. And I don't think Justice Page could have done any better a job along those lines. This isn't an end point, though. This is a beginning point, and that's why I'm particularly excited, because my hope is by locating this garden in this location, both the campus community and the surrounding community will see it as a conversation starter. Tell me more about the garden. Tell me more about Indigenous people. And the opportunity for this to be an educational resource as well as a resource for the campus diversity and inclusion efforts is really outstanding. And so I'm very sincere when I say I'm very excited about this day. I'm very excited about the turnout we're seeing and the diversity within the audience and representative of the audience. Thank you very much for being here, and I will turn the podium now back to our host.
Okay, thank you again. And now we're going to have Willard Yellowbird come up here and do a spiritual prayer. Thank you, Willard.
I was glad she said a spiritual prayer and not a dance. Because years ago when I used to work, or early 80s, and they asked me, Willard, why don't you do a rain dance? And I looked at them, I said, the last time I tried a rain dance, the oil prices went up. And they said, no, don't do that. So they never did ask me it. Now we're paying over $2 a gallon, close to $3 sometimes. But, Indigenous Peoples Day, when I was the cultural planner for the city of Fargo, and I was the liaison for the Native Commission, what happened was that one time we were talking about trying to turn the... breaking everything up here. Trying to get the Columbus Day changed into Indigenous Peoples Day. And so I brought it up, and then the news got hold of it. So they called me up, and I said, well, we've been just thinking about it. We talked about it, but we haven't made any initial. And they talked about it. I said, maybe next year we'll try it. So then it made the paper that time, the form. All at once I started getting phone calls. I got a phone call from a young lawyer. She was working in, I think, Valley City, but she was from Standing Rock. And she said, I would like to be on your committee. And I said, that's great. As soon as we start forming that committee, I'll get hold of you. Then I get another phone call from a retired professor from NDSU. And she said, I'm glad that you brought this subject up because we need to change it. We need to get the Columbus Day off there and get into Indigenous Peoples Day, the first Americans. I said, that's really great, that's fine. She said, I'd like to be on the committee too. And I said, good. And she got quiet and she said, I'm not a Native American. I said, that's okay, because we want everybody on the community. Not just not Native, but everybody. And then she kind of says, I could trace my ancestry back to the Pilgrims. I said, oh man, that's awesome. So once we get the committee together, I'll give you a call. So the second year, we start going around and around with the Native Commission. Some of them wanted to do more training, wanted to do more education to the community before we can get started. And I was kind of pushing it. I said, I think we can do it. I think we can get the change and stuff. And then they kind of said to me, well, how do you know that we can get it changed? I said, because we have the Pilgrims on our side. I said, now it's a true story too, though. But we did get it changed. So I'd like to introduce my helper, Leading Eagle. Stand up, Leading Eagle. He's my helper. He's been helping me in several different kind of functions, and he's still learning. So at the end of this prayer, I asked him to go put some tobacco on the drum and then give them your elbow, you know, and introduce yourself to them. So that's part of our tradition. Do you have any pilgrims in here? All right. I hope this is insured because I think I broke the top off it. So. To all my relatives, friends, today we are praying in our own way for Mother Earth and for our people who live on Turtle Island. We were taught that we are the caretakers of Mother Earth, and we must stand together as one soul, one spirit, and one voice. Today I offer this prayer to all of us and those who can't be here today, but are here in spirit, as we pray together and become one voice in the spirit. Creator, hear us, for we are all your children. We come for the four directions of Mother Earth throughout today. We ask our ancestors to find us and stand with us in prayer and feel our tears and witness our prayer for Mother Earth and our people on Turtle Island. Creator, we thank you for the lessons that you have taught us in patience, generosity, compassion, and love for one another. You taught us to feel your warmth, healing, and love, and the spirit of the universe. Creator, have pity on us and stand beside us once again. It was said, when we pray as one soul, one spirit, and one voice, you stand with us. Creator, we come from the different spiritual paths, but we all end up on your sacred road, and that's to help our people. There are tough times ahead, Creator, but give us the strength and the courage and the wisdom and the understanding to help our children, to help our people make it through the struggles, and to send our spiritual energy to all our people and to Mother Earth. Holy Father, we bow down to you. You alone are holy. You own everything in this whole world. You're chief over all. I thank you for listening to us and to pray and standing beside us. I'm asking you this day to give us your blessing and watch over all my friends and relatives today and always, and to keep them safe. We ask that you heal their soul, their spirit. We wouldn't have food. We wouldn't have shelter. And when we cross over to that spirit world, she gives us a place to rest. I hope. Are we going to do this much? The red cloud, yep. And then right below it, there you go. Just bring it out, yeah. In our traditional way, when we purify We purify our heart of all anger, hatred, sickness, desires, and negative energy. Then we purify the mind, the head, of fear, bad thoughts, influences, sickness, and hurt. And then we purify the body of all sickness and hurt. So when we start here, leading eagle, we'll start and we'll go around. He'll just go around like that, and he'll get everybody that wants to be smudged. Now this is an eagle feather that I got from one of my veterans. I'm a chaplain at the Stanford Hospital and at the VA. And before she passed, she gave me this eagle feather. She says, whenever you have a ceremony for the people, could you please use it? And then after that, she gave it to me, and then the following week she passed. So every time I have a ceremony for the people, I use it in her honor. As you know, my name is Willard Yellowbird, and my tribal name, or my traditional name, is Bear Shield. And my helper today is Leading Eagle. You know, in planting ceremonies in their old days, you had to be a medicine fraternity. You have to have been giving certain rites, or at least showing what is done from a member of this group to be able to pray with the bundle. At the first sign of thunder, it was said, this is the time for planting to be done. And there are songs to go with these ceremonies, even songs for planting. So in the beginning of these ceremonies, it was very elaborate. They also talk about the plants are the beginning, when they're beginning to bud and return to the birds. These ceremonies have acknowledged certain animals because they help us, especially when you think the other animals or creatures will do harm to the crops. So they would leave an offering to them and ask the animals that they eat to come and protect the field. In our prayer, we pray to the four directions: thunder, rain, and animals, and to Mother Corn and others to offer tobacco. So we'll pray to the four directions of the Sonish people. To the southeast, this represents the light of the sun. The power of the sun will drive away the disease and the power of evil. We offer tobacco to the southeast as a prayer to invoke the potency of the healing power for deliverance and safety and health for all our people. To the southwest, this represents thunder, which gives us the water of life, where the storm clouds and the rain spirits bring the water of life for the thirst of the people, animals, and plants, and to Mother Earth to help her when she is thirsty, parched, and dry. We will offer tobacco to the southeast as a prayer that destructive storms and torrential rains may be averted. And we all ask our animal friends to protect our crops and only take what is needed. To the northwest, this represents the wind, the breath of life and all the power of the air. We offer tobacco to the northwest as a prayer that gentle and refreshing breezes may breathe over land, plants, and also that dry, withering wind should not destroy the crops. We ask our birds, the insect relatives, to have pity on us and only take what is needed to help grow our crops and all vegetation. To the northeast, this represents night, which brings us rest and restores all the freshness to all things. Northeast is also dedicated to Mother Corn, who first appeared from this direction to bring us peace and guidance and hope for the future. We offer tobacco to the northeast as a prayer to Mother Corn for the moral values and rules she brought to our people to guide us in our holy path. We also thank Mother Earth for their bountiful gifts of rain and snow that comes from the northeast to supply the needed moisture for the abundance of growth for our crops and all vegetation. Let us thank Mother Earth and offer her tobacco, providing for all the food of our people and a place to dwell, and thank her for providing for all the needs of our people and our living creatures. Father above, we bow down to you. You alone are holy. You own everything in this whole world. You're chief over all. I thank you for this day to give us your blessing and watch over the garden today and all days, and to keep us safe so nothing bad will happen. We humble ourselves to you, feel sorry for us, and bless us today for our Indigenous Peoples Day and to our new garden today. All the words that I have spoken is spoken from one of our medicine priests, 4 reeds. Starts to sing our honor song. I can't hear. Prayer. I have one more before you can sit down. DJ's been helping me every time I ask, and he's willing to help. And I always like to give him something every now and then. So I have the rights to give eagle feathers out. So today I'm going to give him a wingtip of the eagle feather. The wingtip, if you know, is kind of like the pointer. Since his name is Leading Eagle, I think it would do him right. Thanks for helping me. You won't bump on, you know. Thank you.
About the garden that we have dedicating here today. One of the first things is that when the time came for us to start this, or when we originally put this there, we made a call out to the people and to the reservations, anybody who wanted to try to submit a name to name the garden. And it's kind of funny, but they told us, well, you can't use grandmother in there because like grandmother earth, and they were all patented. And I said, well, we had an elder from the Arikara Nation, and the name she came up with is Grandmother Earth's Gifts of Life. And because of the garden, of the food that we get from there, and the nourishment we get from there. And I thought that was really appropriate because the Arikaras were one of the best agriculturalists in the country. They grew gardens, they had great big gardens. They weren't nomads, they were agriculturalists. So that's why I'm very proud of that, as well as Dolores Wilkinson, the Arikara elder, is my mother. And so I was really very proud of that. And so I just hope that when this garden is here, that it's actually planted. There's things in there that, I mean, to dedicate it again is just awesome. So I want to see that fruition come true, and I hope it does. Okay, I'm going to read the resolution to you. When we, like Willard said, people got together and decided to try to work on getting this passed. I am very proud to say I was part of that, along with many others, and I was thankful to the Fargo City Commission for passing this. So I'll read this to you now. A resolution approving the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples' Day. Be it resolved by the Board of City Commissioners of the City of Fargo. Whereas the City of Fargo established the Native American Commission to strengthen the Native American community in promoting understanding, recognition, respect of cultures to enrich the community as a whole, and support empathy, integrity, humility, good stewardship of resources, fostering fellowship, familial cohesion, and whereas the Fargo Native American Commission unanimously supports abolishing Columbus Day and replacing said day with Indigenous Peoples' Day, with the intention of bringing awareness and understanding to the City of Fargo's community. And whereas the City of Fargo recognizes that Fargo is built upon the homelands and villages of the Indigenous peoples in this region, without whom building of this city would have not been possible. And whereas the City of Fargo understands that in order to help close the equity gap, government entities, organizations, and other public institutions should change their policies and practices to better reflect the experiences of Indigenous peoples and uplift the country's. As Indigenous Peoples' Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of the Native Nations in the United Nations sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous populations in the Americas. And whereas in 1990, representatives from 120 indigenous nations, indigenous nations at the First Continental Conference on 500 years of Indian resistance unanimously passed a resolution to transform Columbus Day into an occasion to strengthen the process of continental continuity and struggle for the liberation, and thereby use the occasion to reveal a more accurate historical record. And whereas Columbus Day is celebrated throughout the United States, despite perpetuating a false history that fails to reflect the violence and tragic mistreatment of indigenous peoples. And whereas, despite this brutal history of Columbus, the United States has recognized the second Monday of October, Columbus Day, as a federal holiday since 1937. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Fargo shall continue its efforts to promote the well-being of Fargo Native American and Indigenous community. And be it further resolved that Indigenous peoples shall be an opportunity to celebrate the thriving cultures, positive values of the Indigenous peoples of our region. And be it further resolved that Fargo Public Schools and other educational institutions are encouraged to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. And be it further resolved that the businesses, organizations, and public institutions are encouraged to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. And be it further resolved that Fargo's Indigenous Peoples Day shall serve as an occasion to reflect upon the ongoing struggles, positive contributions of Indigenous peoples of this land, and to celebrate the culture and value of the Anishinaabe, Dakota, Lakota, Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara, and all the Indigenous peoples add to our community so as to enhance understanding and promote harmony. And be it further resolved that the Fargo Native American Commission shall, in conjunction with the Fargo Human Relations Commission and other private public entities, develop an action plan for ongoing community education. Therefore, be it finally resolved by the Fargo City Commission that the City of Fargo shall henceforth proclaim the second Monday of October to be Indigenous Peoples Day. So thank you for that resolution, for passing that. And so now it's my honor to introduce Dr. Tim Mahoney, Fargo Mayor. If you'd like to come up and say a few words, please.
Good morning, everybody. It is an honor to have the opportunity to be a part of the 5th annual Indigenous Peoples Day in Fargo and the groundbreaking of this beautiful garden. You just heard Sharon read the official Indigenous Peoples Day resolution establishing today as officially recognized holiday within the city of Fargo. The thing I remember different from Willard is when we came up with this, you did listen to a lot of people. You went back and talked. This took a while for us to come to the proper words and reflections of what we wanted to do. And I'm very proud that the city of Fargo did recognize it as a holiday 5 years ago. I'm also incredibly grateful to oversee a city with a population of Indigenous people with rich heritage who continue to positively impact and enrich Fargo's culture. Truly teach us to respect Mother Earth. What a greater place to have a garden at NDSU, Agricultural Leader of the World, and we are part of this, and Indigenous people can also teach us the respect and love we have for Mother Nature and what it does for us. I especially like the smudging ceremony we had today, because this will probably make it easier to work with Dardis and Judd when we go forward, because now they're cleansed and have no ill feelings of me. Every Fargo resident should take efforts to strengthen their understanding and respect for the Native American community, its arts, and its customs. It is very rich in forgiveness and going forward in many areas that this country needs right now. I'm also very pleased to see NDSU become a partner in this garden and become part of this culture as well, and recognizing the help they're doing to reach out to Native American people, where we can have students that learn many things at this university. As the mayor of Fargo, it's imperative to me that all people, all backgrounds are welcome, appreciated, and important in their home city. We always talk about Fargo being an embracing city, and Indigenous people are embracing. The thing I love about the culture is oftentimes you are hugged, you are held in respect, and there's an understanding of each other. I've seen many people come forward and develop leadership positions within our community, and it's just been a joy to see the different views and ideas that come forth from that. Now, Lenora, can I have the Native American Commission people raise their hand who are part of our commission here today? How many people do we have here? Let's give a round of applause to the people who serve that role. We have also learned from the Native American Commission many of the things that we needed to learn in our community. And I thank you all for making us aware of that and also serving as a benchmark of how to bring the community about for understanding and understanding the richness that you bring to our community. So thank you very much for this opportunity to speak today. Now, Sharon earlier in her career was assistant for me in surgery. So she has developed great wisdom, I think, from those times we had together, and is doing a great job of leading her community. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. And I think Dr. Mahoney learned a lot from me as well about our culture. As always, we always include everybody in that we honor. And as we say, there's no boundaries for us as Native people. And so today we'd also like to honor the mayors that surround our surrounding area. So can I please have Moorhead Mayor Jonathan Judd come up and say a few words? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. Though the City of Fargo's proclamation has already done this, before I speak, I would like to also acknowledge that we are standing and sitting on Indigenous land. That is very important, and it really sends a beautiful statement, because I think on a day such as today, where we honor and embrace the Indigenous traditions, it is important to quote again and to follow on what President Brashani has stated. We need to continue having these conversations. We also need to make sure that these conversations move forward into concerted action. And before I go any further, I want to acknowledge Vice Chair of the Moorhead Human Rights Commission, Heather Keeler, and also Mikkel Pauling Norbenden, who serves also on our Human Rights Commission, for taking the effort to make sure that Moorhead passed a similar proclamation last year. That was great timing, by the way. Also would like to send a shout out to our Chief of Police, Shannon Monroe, for being here today as well. And also Willard for the beautiful prayer. This is a day where we not only need to honor and continue to have the conversation about the beautiful Indigenous traditions that we are blessed to have with in our communities and throughout our region, but it's also a day where we also need to embrace the history. Not only the beautiful history, but the challenges that the Indigenous people had to endure for centuries. And it is okay to have those conversations, because we need to better understand the history so we can grow together and to understand how we must be determined to not let that history repeat itself. It is also a time where we, as policyholders throughout this community, need to address the disparities that we have in education, to also address the disparities that we have in representation in our legal system and throughout our political system. It is okay to take the time to sit down and have candid conversations about how we can and we will do better, not only in our individual respective communities, but throughout our region. It is our responsibility to take days like today and make sure that it happens every day. And we'll have the opportunity to continue this conversation through American Indian Heritage Month coming up in November, which I'm proud to say that our region will be participating in to keep the dialogue going and to further the action so that we can and will do better. So again, thank you all for being here today. Miigwech. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. The next person we have is West Fargo Mayor Bernie Dardis. Would you like to come up, please?
Jonathan, you got to get taller. Good morning, Chairman Lenore. It's a pleasure to be with you and all of your friends and your family that are here today. Representative Buffalo, it's always a pleasure to share a platform with you. And thank you for your service. You represent part of West Fargo in the legislature, and we're very grateful for that. To my fellow mayors, Jonathan and Tim, it's always a pleasure to be with you. And President Rashani, thank you for hosting us today. This contribution of NDSU with Grandmother Earth Gardens is an amazing thing. I'd like to thank you all for the invitation to participate in today's celebration of Indigenous people and to help commemorate the history and the culture of the Native American population. I grew up in Kilder, North Dakota, next to the Fort Berthold Reservation. It was part of the way I grew up. It was part of my culture, my family culture. I was telling the Buffalo River Singers that I've been to about 30 to 40 powwows in Mandaree and Twin Buttes as a child growing up. It was a big part of our lives, an amazing, enriching culture. I'm particularly excited to participate this year because West Fargo is embarking on a journey right now to understand and embrace the diversity in our community. The West Fargo City Commission has committed funds to create a coalition. This work that will include schools, the Park District, our law enforcement community, our businesses, and the faith groups and others, to include all dimensions of diversity represented in our community. Furthermore, we have begun an intercultural development inventory of all of our employees to make sure that they understand and that they have the tools to build intercultural competency. Excuse me. These efforts align with our values of service, respect, teamwork, and integrity, as well as our vision of being a bold, engaged, and proactive community. To that end, I hope my support today, our diversity efforts are helpful in shining a light on the past, present, and future, contributes to all of our culture. I would also like to thank you, all of you who have worked continuously to protect, strengthen, and share your culture so that we may embrace it. Now more than ever, it is vital that we proactively support all members of our community so we can continue toward an environment where everyone can thrive. And to you, Willard, you still have pilgrims on your side. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
And thank you, Mayor Dardis. I too am not as tall. Okay, and then we have another Dilworth City, and the mayor couldn't be here with us today, but we're very happy to welcome Deputy Mayor Julie Nash from Dilworth, please.
So on behalf of the City of Dilworth and Mayor Olson and myself, we wanted to convey our gratitude for being invited here today to be a part of this opening ceremony for Indigenous Peoples Day. It is a privilege to be included in a celebration that honors the many cultures of Indigenous people who have lived and cared for this land long before our city is incorporated here. We acknowledge that our communities exist on traditional lands of Indigenous people. We are committed to collaborating together to be better stewards of the land and to grow our relationships with Indigenous people and all those in our communities. And after listening to the other mayors, it's amazing to me the initiatives that you've all taken in your communities, and even though Dilworth isn't as far along possibly as you guys are, to know that the diversity is what really matters in our community is something that we really, really honor in Dilworth as well. And I just want to say thank you again for inviting us to be a part of your ceremony today.
Thank you very much, Julie. Have the next part of
Thank you again. It's an honor to have each and every one of you here today. And we have a Glass Ray Award presentation that we have every year in honor of Glass Ray, and I have one of her granddaughters here who will tell you about this award and what a great
Uju, Babi Tuigishik Ukwe, Indigenous Cause. Hello, my name is Amber Matson. My traditional name means Between the Sky Woman. I am from Fargo, and our family is enrolled in the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. I am one of Gladys Ray's granddaughters. Our family is proud and humbled that Gladys Ray's efforts and spirit in our community has made such a lasting impression. It is truly an honor for this award to be named after her. Gladys Shingleby Ray shared her vision with many people. She is someone who worked for the voices of people in all of their endeavors with kindness, tenacity, heart, grit, passion, a sweet sense of humor, and while also staying true to her values and culture as she was raised. Gladys gave her time and attention to helping find solutions to better the lives in our community. Gladys would say, "Never stop learning if you don't want to." Her voice was strong for social justice and humanitarian efforts, our Native youth, families, education, homelessness, sharing culture, traditions, and Native arts. She exemplified being strong together, being kind and humble in your efforts, raising up our voices, empowering one another, joining that committee table, and helping to bring change for the better. Gladys embodied these characteristics. When there was a need, she moved to bring change for the better, which brought her into so many projects and committee seats, and she enjoyed every direction that life brought her. She gained support of many talented and passionate individuals by creating and reshaping programs within the community. Life has many seasons, of course, but we all have a light to make an impact, and the change we desire to see in all of us is in all of us in a good way. Our elders and those before us paved the paths for our future. We are humbled our grandmother Gladys's memory is still very much alive. Having this award symbolizes so much for our community, not only recognition for those positively impacting the Indigenous community, but growth, opportunity for the betterment of many lives, all while remembering our ancestors are always with us. Today, I am proud to present this year's 2020 Gladys Ray Award. There have been multiple nominations of well-deserving individuals making positive impact and incredible efforts in our community. So, it is a tribute and an honor to announce that Melody Stadner is selected as this year's Gladys Ray recipient. Melody Stadner, Babuni Benizi Quaid, snowbird woman, has spent most of her life here in Fargo, North Dakota. She has 3 children and is enrolled in the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe. Melody was nominated by Jennifer Buckley for her community and outreach work with Indian education for Fargo and West Fargo schools and the community. Melody has worked for 18 years as a coordinator for Indian education and has strived for greatness for this program since day one. She has developed many strong relationships with a variety of other community programs and most importantly, her students and families. Over the years, she has managed to grow the program from once was in a small closet office with 2 filing cabinets. When budgets were limited and funding opportunities scarce, she sought out other sources to expand resources to families and advocated to expand her support staff. Melody is described as someone who is a wonderful problem solver, finding new and innovative ideas. She is team-focused, and her willingness to work with others with a positive outlook has kept this program growing. She continues to grow the program in her role at work and volunteers many of her personal hours with events and projects to support these efforts, positively impacting our Native youth and community. Melody joins forces with many wonderful organizations and individuals providing resources and cultural experiences to include a variety of tribal backgrounds. Melody actively seeks ways to strengthen opportunities for families, also making sure students have basic needs met, giving rides to elder appointments, going above and beyond in her duties. Year after year, she has also inspired many parents that have participated in the parent committee to help serve. She is being celebrated for being a key part in implementing North Dakota Native Essential Understanding programs to the local school districts and help to continue build the opportunity to provide classes to teachers to increase awareness of events. And don't forget mentoring and supporting lots of families across many schools in the districts. I'd
like to say a few words. I wasn't expecting that, but it means a lot to me. When I started my job 18 years ago, Gladys Ray took me under her wing, and she was my personal mentor when I started this job. So I know, just trying to live up to like what Gladys, for her to be proud of me. I know when I first started, she introduced me to so many people in our community, brought me to different committee meetings. She brought me to the Woodland High Plains Powwow, to the homeless community, and I'm just so honored to be able to receive this award. It means the world to me. She's left me with so much to take away, and that has helped me through my career. Gladys has. She's given me this one family that they brought me close to them, and I just really appreciate the Gladys family, and just so thankful. I love the work I do. I do have a passion and a desire to work with our Native community, and I love building the relationships, and I just love our community.
That was really exciting. This isn't what I'm supposed to say, but it's always been such a privilege to work alongside you when I was in Indian education. It's really fun to be able to work alongside a lot of you, but giving words of support, which are actually encouragement to go out and leave here task-orientated. I think we come together and we do things like this, and it feels great, and we're coming together and we talk about really beautiful things, but we have to take it further than that. We've heard Prashani talk about it, we've heard the mayors talk about it, but each of you were invited here today because you're a leader in some capacity. Whether it's a leader in your community, a leader as on campus, a leader in some of the groups that you lead. And so it's your responsibility when you're at the tables, one, to look around and make sure it's an inclusive space. We have to make our spaces inclusive in decision making so that we're making sure that all of us are thought of when we're having those conversations. So I challenge each of you as we're inspired today and we move forward, and November is Native American Heritage Month, but like Mayor Judd said, we have to do this every single day. We have to embrace the people who embody this land every single day. So I challenge each of you to step up, step out, and be the voice of courage. When things don't feel comfortable, that's sometimes the best time to say something. I do that, and it's tended to work very well for me. But I just want to challenge each of you. You were here for a reason. You were invited here for a reason. You're all leaders. Also, we have to remember that as Indigenous people, we're not always at the table. And so when we're not there, we need somebody else, and we need allies to step up and be voices for us. We do have a lot of things going on in November, so just be sure to pay attention to all the different social media that everybody's been watching. But also, go back to your community, go back to your groups, go back to your pockets of people, and come up with something. Do an event, have a conversation, host a panel, do a craft, learn a language, do something along those lines, but do them consistently. When we look at the things that Melody does, it's for the next generation. You know, my son is here. That eagle that got me going a little bit, I wasn't expecting that, but a lot of what we do is for the next generation. My job here at NDSU is Assistant Director for Multicultural Outreach.
Thank you again, Heather. Here I'm either ready to come up too early or late here. So it is such a great day, and thank you, Heather, for your speech here. And now I'd like to introduce President Bashani here again. Yep, this is going to be for the groundbreaking here. Do we have Isna? Okay, you can come up here too. And then, I don't know if you want to say a word of support, and then we can start with the groundbreaking. Okay? Welcome.
Could everybody hear me okay? All right. Let me adjust this. Hello, let me Ishala Naji Ronigal, Oglala Oyanke Himataha. Hello, my name is Ishala Naji Ronigal. I'm a Oglala from Pioneer, South Dakota. I'm a senior mechanical engineering here at NDSU, as well as the president of our American Indian Science and Engineering Society chapter here. I just wanted to say something quick, not too long, acknowledging the importance of this garden being an Indigenous student. About this time last year, my significant other and I were doing a research project characterizing a remnant prairie, and we were identifying all sorts of plants, and I had no clue, I had no idea what they were, whereas she grew up raised identifying these plants, and she knew their uses. And as we were going through these plants, it was amazing how much questions, and it really just brought my attention to our culture that it is amazing that our ancestors were able to put the land to such great use. So just, it also acknowledges train of thought. This garden is also important in acknowledging indigenous people. An example I want to give is that I'm going into mechanical engineering, and the statistic that I know is that less than 0.01% of all mechanical engineers are Native American. So we are highly underrepresented in every field that you see. It's usually around 1 to 3%, and all the fields that you see is what our representation is. So it's important to acknowledge indigenous people no matter where they are in the world, because those were the people that were on that land first, not just here, but everywhere around the world. So, thank you.
At this point, what I'd like to do is have our host in the front row here join me for ceremonial groundbreaking, and then the closing of the ceremony right after that. Thank you all very much. I'll turn it back over to the
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be here with you. I just want to say Madzigadods, thank you in the Hidatsa language for inviting me into this space. I hope everybody leaves better from this space than from when they entered. I'm a citizen of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. I'm also alumni of NDSU, and it's so refreshing to be here, but also to honor Mother Earth and the strong connection we have as Indigenous people, as people in North Dakota, our strong connection to the land. You know, we love these lands, we love the people on these lands, and so I just want to say Madzigadods. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for coming. That wraps up the program. But I do just want to do a quick overview of what we have going on the rest of the day. Typically, we all know that we gather in bigger spaces than this. We usually have events going on throughout the entire day, ending in our meal and our powwow. We can't do that because we're in the middle of a pandemic, but we want to create a space that all of us can still learn and be engaged. And so if you go over to the social media platforms, NDSU's tagged in it, the City of Fargo, Native American Commission, and Moorhead Indigenous Peoples Day, we're going to be having different spotlights throughout the entire day. So while you're working in your offices, if you pull it up and just listen and learn today. At the end of the day, we're going to be having a panel. We have a couple of keynote speakers, one of which is Sharon. We also have Tyrell Iron Eyes, who's a student here at NDSU. He's going to be talking about the importance in language revitalization. And then we have Brandy King, who is a female veteran, to talk about that experience of serving for your country and your land as an Indigenous individual. So take advantage of those. Like I said, they're all virtual, so everybody can kind of log on. So if you can commit to at least trying to log on to something the rest of the day, and like I said, get involved, go within your own circles and plan something for November. Pilam.